Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Approach the Nerd. It has been a spell since I have done a live stream. I know I feel old and I'm doing it solo, so Um I just wanted to first do a little quick bit of housekeeping. For those of you who have followed my Ruby reviews and Owl House reviews in the past, I have not watched the Owl House yet, so please don't spoil it. I have watched Ruby. It was probably one of the darkest effing episodes I've seen um to date. So that's going to become a separate video, so we will not be talking about that either because that I literally just finished watching it right before this stream. So all right, but we are here to talk about Superman and Lois. So we're just going to jump right into season 3. Season 3 has been, for me, their best season yet. I know I rave about this show because, as somebody who loves comics and as somebody who basically, how do I put it? Has been kind of like embedded in this Arrowverse universe for a very long time and not been really happy with what's been happening. It's very refreshing when we get a show like Superman and Lois where, to be fair, they do have the backing of HBO Max, but they have better writing for the most part. They have, better effects. I mean, it shows where the money goes. And I guess if I was going to play devil's advocate, I guess series like The Flash and some of the other ones that we've recently had and are now basically canceled suffered from not having that budget and not having better writing. So, you know, what can you do? But we do have a show with good writing. So let's just kind of jump off and basically basically talk about everything that is so far season 3 of Superman and Lois. So we've got a new villain this season, which for us is a new villain, but for them is not a new villain, which is very interesting. The one thing I've always said that I've always struggled with in all Arrowverse shows is timelines. Case in point, we got Crisis on Infinite Earth, but some things that have happened, basically since then, post Crisis on Infinite Poop, have been very challenging to wrap our minds around for those of us who actually read the comics. Like, we have events happening that happen in Infinite Crisis, and we haven't had Infinite Crisis. We have New 52, and we don't have New 52. We have name drop for characters like Aquaman and Wonder Woman and Batman when we never introduced them into the canon of Arrowverse. So, it's always a game to see where we are in the comic lore versus Arrowverse. And I know Arrowverse is its own entity, but I mean, they pull from these stories. So it's just very interesting, the timelines. And I'm saying that because we have Bruno Ugly Mannheim as the main villain in Superman and Lois. Now, I can't call him ugly because the guy who plays him, Chad L. Coleman, is not ugly. So I'm choosing to leave ugly out. But it's very interesting where they're going with this. So, and they can go a lot of places with this by having him be the main villain. One thing I've always thought about, and this is a hot take. I don't know if you guys, you probably can even find it on his bio, but um, it's either post Infinite Crisis or into New 52. He had this major rebirth when he was dealing with Darkseid, and he became like part of the Dark Faith, and he was like all about the Crime Bible and blah blah blah. I don't know if we're getting the Crime Bible in this. We probably are. They might be alluding to that. But what's interesting to me is that something I hope they don't do with him, and it's a character trope that is very gross to me, is that Mannheim was a whole ass cannibal. So I'm really hoping that they don't show him, because like when you fail him or you don't agree with what he would say, he would poison you and then he would eat you. So I mean, I'm really hoping this is not something that carries on into the series because that is really creepy. So I'm just gonna throw that out there. But yeah, so Mannheim is basically the new Lex Luthor. He is now at this point the leader of Intergang, which is again interesting because I think that did happen either post Infinite Crisis or in New 52, because he was a member of Intergang, but then he became the leader later. So again, timeline. It's so weird. I don't know the timeline for anything. Like, I've always thought that Superman and Lois was on the same timeline as Supergirl, and of course, it has to be in the Arrowverse because Diggle made an appearance in season 2 to basically tell John Henry, hey, this Manhunt guy basically killed the version of you on this earth. So the time, Infinite, like, Crisis on Infinite Poop really has messed with my head a lot. Both in the fact that it sucked and because it made like time holes everywhere. So, it's a thing. But yeah, so he's calling the shots. I love his interaction with Superman. I love how he called Superman out and he was like, hey, you over here talking crap, but you've never been down to the suicide slums. Where were you when we needed saving? So step off. Basically. And you saw Superman looking like, I can't argue this fact. I have no defense against this at all because I did not come this far into the hood. Like, and I just love that scene. To me, spoke volumes of things people have been saying about comics for years. Like, why do this, like, the major players in the DC universe, why do they not pop into the hood? At least with Marvel, and this is not me playing defensive or defense of DC versus Marvel because I love them both, but Peter Parker lived in the hood. You got Daredevil in Hell's Kitchen. But these people live in the suburbs. They live in Manhattan in the DC universe. They're like, nah, man, we have money. We're not doing that. So I just thought that was really funny that Mannheim called that out. Okay, so Mannheim's causing a lot of problems. He's trying to make superpowered people with Superman's blood, or experimenting with his blood, basically, that he got from the DOD. And we learned this season the reason that they had Superman's blood in the DOD is because, remember last season when he was dying, they were trying to save his life. So they were kind of like, we don't know how to save you. We're going to try everything we can. Well, the doctor was like, I took samples of your blood just in case we need to like synthesize something to try and help you. And Superman was like in his feelings. It's like, how dare you do that without my permission and blah, blah, blah. But I keep thinking back to actual medical facilities. And sometimes they do things like that. If you have a rare blood type, they want to make sure they have something on file. And I was like, I'm kind of like split because I kind of see Superman's point of view of you're basically letting people experiment with my blood by keeping it here and making it a target. But I also see the doctor's point of, okay, well, the next time you need medical help, don't come here because I can't do anything for you because you basically just destroyed all the blood samples. So good luck. Like, that's how I feel about it. But it is what it is. But so Mannheim has this blood and he's experimenting with it. We're also introduced to a DC villain, which is very interesting. It's Automatopoeia. Now, I remember Automatopoeia in the Titans comics only because of the creepy ass mask. It just bothers me. It bothers me. Like, it's just, I don't like looking at it. But I don't remember Automatopoeia being a metahuman, and they've made Automatopoeia a metahuman in Superman and Lois, and it's something that the Arrowverse does. The actual metahumans in the Arrowverse, they make human. Case in point, Chester, who should be chunk. He should be like 400 pounds and opening portals and jumping everywhere, but he is not. He is a normal, sometimes whiny, normal human being. And then you got Automatopoeia, who, if I remember, was just kind of like a run-of-the-mill assassin with like really good agility or something like that. And now he is like a whole ass metahuman with like reality bending or some kind of, not really reality bending, but he or she, which should be a he if it's in the comics, has the ability to like manipulate your surroundings and make it so you're like so distorted and out of it, he can take advantage of you, which is what I'm getting from these powers. Now, there could be something else. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's what I'm seeing. And it's really weird because that's not something I don't associate Automatopoeia with meta. So that's really weird. But you know what? It is what it is. It's working. Automatopoeia attacked Lana because the mayor of the town, who basically was doing some shady dealings and had some information on more than likely Mannheim and Intergang. And quite frankly, if Chrissy, when they were, so this season, Christian and Lois get trapped in like a freezer, and she's talking about she alludes to the fact that the Secret Society of Supervillains is coming. So that could be what that basically was on the thumb drive. But this person decided, hey, I'm just going to go and get the thumb drive back. Now, I don't know if Automatopoeia would have killed Lana if John Henry had not been there, because Automatopoeia killed John Henry. John Henry's supposed to be dead. And then here's John Henry again on the floor. And I think Automatopoeia was like, okay, let me go deal with that. and I'll let you, live. We all know it's because Lana is a supporting character that right now has main character insurance, so she's not gonna die. But yeah, that whole interaction, the fact that the mayor called Lana and as his last call before he was killed by automatopoeia, and then of course Lana Lane being in his phone. Which, if you don't like somebody, sometimes you put like little aliases like that bitch that stole my job or something like that. Why you put Lana Lang? So then of course the villain knew it was Lana. But yeah, so that whole thing is interesting, and so I really want to know what's on the thumb drive. Honestly, it would be really cool if the crime Bible was on the thumb drive, but I don't. Like I said, I don't know what we're doing. I don't know what we're doing with this. I don't know at what point we are in Mannheim's journey. I'm just hoping we're not at the point where he eats people. That's all I'm saying on that. Okay, so we have a lot of stuff. So we're gonna just break down some key things that are happening in the season. I do have a few hot takes. So first of all, Lois Lane has stage 3 inflammatory breast cancer. Now, this is not the first time that Lois Lane has had cancer. She's had it in the comics. Um, she was also shot and a bunch of, and when you are married to a super hero in the comics, bad things happen to you eventually. So, just ask Mary Jane Watson. But I like how they're handling the story, and I love that they're keeping Lois Lois. And what I mean by that is Lois Lane in all her glory is going to go after Mannheim, even though she herself is in desperate need to focus on herself, because cancer is no joke. I mean, you're speaking to somebody whose mother, father, and previous spouse all died from terminal cancer. It is very life altering. It is very, like, your energy level is drained. You cannot do things. And Lois is like, F that. I had my first bout of chemo, but I'm still going after Mannheim, because this is literally her Lex Luthor. And then on top of that, she's going to his hospital where she knows he invested I think it was like $250 million to advertise as the best hospital ever, but it's really a cover because that's where he sends his inner gang members to be treated. She's going to get her chemo there. And like, what could go wrong, right? What could go wrong? Especially since you let it know you're going after Mannheim, and then you all of a sudden become a patient at his hospital. Yeah, he's not an idiot. And of course he sees that and he's like, well, I'm going to deal with it myself. So of course it's going to get interesting. So yeah, Lois is very super focused on Mannheim. She's also she was in denial for a bit. Like, she kept missing her chemo appointments, the first chemo appointments. Poor Clark, he is not handling Lois having cancer well at all. He's having dreams about like the Daily Planet, like freaking ball falling on her or just dying. He's not handling it. The Fortress of Solitude can do nothing to help her whatsoever, apparently, with her cancer. So it's great. I love how they're making it extremely realistic. It's not like, oh, I have cancer, I'm going to get treated, I'm completely okay, I processed it automatically, and now I'm going to like do that and be able to live my life and blah, blah. No, they're actually showing that she's doing too much and is taking a toll. One of the events that happens that kind of shows this, outside of her going to a warehouse or whatever and basically finding Mannheim's men and getting caught, basically, is so Jonathan is still dating Candace, and his ex-girlfriend from Metropolis reached out and they invited him to a party and tried to kiss him, and he's like, oh, I got somebody, but it happened. Basically, she kissed him. He did move away, but it happened. He still hasn't told Candace this yet, just so people know. But remember last season, the uncle left both Jordan and him a truck. I don't think Jordan kept his because he can fly and shit, so he doesn't need a vehicle. But Jonathan kept his truck because that's basically how he flies. And his truck gets stolen, and everything is alluding that Candace's father did it. And Candace's father is a POS. He's a piece of shit. So he basically even like he dropped Candace off from work, and his dad was like, how much is that truck worth? And blah, 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 where'd you get the truck from? And blah, blah, blah. And that was already like, oh, he's gonna steal that truck. And while when Jonathan went to school, his truck got stolen. So I love the scene where him, Nat, and Jordan are all going to get the truck back from the chop shop. That was pretty cool. I think that definitely shows the HBO Max like budget. You see Jordan and Nat just taking these people out. Jonathan even got one hit on one of them, and they were able to get his truck back. But what alludes to, or what actually happens because of that, is he is taking Candace back home again, or he went to go hang out with Candace. Which, why the fuck would you do that if your dad, like, if your dad stole your truck? Why would you drive your truck back there? You know, it's just every so often the Arrowverse writing gets me. But the father and him get into a confrontation, and he ends up hitting Jonathan. And then Lois finds out later on, and then goes and like confronts the father, and he tries to pull a gun on her. And all the stress makes her collapse, so she's doing too much. But it did lead to a very cool scene that made me reminisce of Superman 2. I don't know if you guys remember this. It's after Clark turns back to a Kryptonian, because in the beginning, when he first, and yes, I'm spoiling Superman 2, but come on, guys, at this point. um but remember, he gives up his Kryptonian heritage and powers to be with Lois. And after they get it on, and all this stuff happens with Lex and all the, Zod and all that, he ends up getting his powers back. Prior to that, though, while he was still human, he got into a confrontation with a guy at a diner, and he gets hit, like pretty much beaten up by this like nasty trucker. And then after he gets his powers back, he goes and he whoops the guy's ass. He just like literally just takes him and then rolls him across the counter. And the scene where Clark finds out that not only did Jonathan get hit, but he pulled a gun on his wife. I mean, I had the vibes of that Superman 2 scene. So I don't know. I thought that was really, really cool. But yeah, that Lois is doing too much. Clark is not handling it. So we already have that going on top of all of the other stuff that's happening. All right. So let's talk about there's and I just have to say the choices that are made by characters always amuse me. Like, I love John Henry. I love him. He has one of the coolest scenes this season. It's when he's in Mannheim's office with the thugs, and they're all threatening him and crap and giving him ultimatums. And he's like, nope. And he just runs and jumps out the window after he pushes a button on his watch, and his suit like is literally right effing there, and he just like shoots off. I'm like, why the hell didn't they do that in Iron Man? Like, that is one of my favorite scenes so far of this season. I love any time John Henry is in steel, or the steel suit. Like when he goes to save it's not really his sister, the John Henry of this Earth's, or their Earth's sister. He just like steps right out of the suit, and the suit's just standing there on guard. And I'm like, man, the tech that man has is ingenious, and I effing love it. But so I just have to nerd out about it. But John Henry, he's like investigating the John Henry of that Earth's life, and yeah, of course, he was the other John Henry was heavily involved with Mannheim and Intergang and doing all kinds of stuff. And we don't know the full scope of what happened, but I think he was selling weapons. But this was like a decorated military officer, and so all of this stuff like hit the fan. It ended up getting his sister blackmailed into releasing people for basically Mannheim to experiment on. And John Henry's like, well, I'm just going to go talk to her because I'm like, I was thinking, I don't know how I would react if my brother was killed and then my brother from another Earth showed up and was like, hey, I'm here to help you. I'm like, Now, to be fair, though, they do know about the events of Crisis. They do know the events that happened last season with the two parallel worlds, merging. So she did kind of mention that, okay, you must be from this other world. But for me, it's interesting how they're very prone to be like, yeah, this is an impossible situation, so I'm just going to go introduce myself. Like, weird. Just weird. But so John Henry has chosen to protect this family on this Earth that is related to the other him and not him. But I mean, for all case and purposes, they look exactly like Chicky looks like his sister. I'm sure the father looks like his father. I'm sure all of that pretty much match up almost exactly. So the only difference is the John Henry of their Earth didn't have a daughter, which technically John Henry didn't have a daughter either. That was his niece, but that's a whole other conversation. But in this world, it is what it is. All right. So let's move on down to some more hot takes. Jordan is arrogant AF. He's been out crime fighting with daddy. And he I don't want to mention Sarah yet because she's one of my major hot takes. But outside of his stupid relationship with Sarah, he's really feeling his powers. He's really feeling himself. He's been trying to go out on his own a lot. It's been kind of backfiring. Um, in the last episode, it kind of came to a head when the grandfather literally was like, Sam was like, "You need to get your hair cut because people can recognize you." And he's like, "Oh, oh hell no, I'm not cutting my hair." And it turned into him saying, "You're not even a hero anyway. What you know about being a hero?" Because Sam doesn't have powers. And it's like, I don't understand. I really blame the helicopter style parenting that probably happened more in Metropolis than they've been doing now in Smallville. But I can tell with Lois Lane being a busy reporter, Clark being a reporter, and Superman, these kids have like pretty much been raising themselves a little bit. And so they've developed this like arrogant, I'm adult enough to talk to you however I see fit type situation going on. And it's really bothering me as a parent. Like, it's really bothering me. And when he said that to Sam was like, "Wait, I served in the war. I've got, medals and blah, blah, blah." And I'm like, he's not listening to you, because you can't fly and you can't, pick up a truck. He's got nothing to say to you. Though props to Lois. She did, she did what my mother would do, in the morning, when they were having breakfast, and she looked at Jordan. She's like, "Oh, thank you for offering your chair to Candace," which I'll get to in a minute. But it been a welcome change basically from how you talked to your grandfather yesterday. Not only are you gonna apologize, boy, you're gonna go right to that barbershop and you're gonna cut your damn hair. I'm like, so yeah. Even with all those powers, Superman and Jordan both are scared of Lois. I'm like, it's just what it is. But he was able to make amends. But I just found it interesting that the arrogance is starting, and because of those part Kryptonian genes. Now, speaking of hair, this brings me to another hot take question. How would they actually cut Jordan's hair? Because if he inherited the Kryptonian abilities, doesn't that mean his hair could not be cut by human tools? I mean, that's been the case in every other version of Superman, that you can't just cut it with normal scissors. So did they even have like this thought pattern? Like, what if you go into the barber shop and then they try and cut your hair and the scissors break and the buzzer break and everything breaks on your hair? How do you explain that? Like, I guess it's just not something the writers thought about. I thought about it, but I was like, really? I mean, how does that actually work? I do not understand. So, yeah, that to me is a question. It's a big question mark for me. But again, like I said, every so often the Arrowverse writing does slip in, and that becomes a thing. All right, some more stuff that's going on. John Henry and Lana Lang, they're alluding to them becoming a couple, because we have to have a little bit of soap opera element to this. You know this, guys. But the ironic thing about this is that if John Henry and Lana Lang hook up, that means John Henry has had both of the women that Clark has had. Now, I don't know if him and Lana ever slept together, but that was his girlfriend back in the day. And now he's married to Lois. And John Henry was married to Lois on his world, and then is going to date Lana Lang on Clark's world. I think that I'm like, player. Player. And honestly, there are two characters that I think are expendable, and that really is Kyle and Sarah. I can't say Sophie because I don't know where that child is. I'll never know where that damn little girl is, but that's a whole other conversation. So I'm saving Sarah for last because that's my big angry grandma rant. So we're building up to it. Okay, so I don't know what's happening with John Henry and Lana, but they've started spending time together. So there's a good chance that they are going to be love interests. If not this season, then if they get a next season, a season 4, the next season. And speaking of weird ass relationships, though, even though technically they're not a real relationship, Kyle and Chrissy. Girl, what are you doing? You already know Kyle is a cheater. He cheats. He is not a good person. He's manipulative as hell. Why are you sleeping with this man? Especially when if he had the option to get back with Lana, he would drop you like yesterday's freaking fly food. I mean, he'd be like, yeah, thank you for spending time with me and letting me get in that, but my bitch is calling. That's literally how Kyle is. He is expendable to me. I don't really have a purpose for him. He is only in this show right now because he has kids with Lana and they share them. That is it. He has no real purpose for me. And I know that sounds horrible because he's Hispanic and I think he's like, him and Sarah and technically I guess Sophie, they're like the only, Latino, Hispanic representation the show has right now. But you're not representing well because you're just a douchebag. So I don't understand it. And so Kyle and Chrissy just are very weird to me. And I think Chrissy is just so lonely. She's just going for it, And it's sad. It's really, really sad. I'm waiting for the fallout between her and Clark when Chrissy's like, "You had a deadline. Where were you?" And he's like, I don't know, saving a village in Venezuela. Well, you still had a deadline. I'm like, I don't think you understand how this works, Chrissy. Like, Superman first. But I think that's going to become a thing because, illogical and irrational conversations happen a lot in the Arrowverse, and I don't expect it to be any different here. So, all right. So, my hot take for Jordan, because we see baby Nat, sweet baby Nat, who also can stand up and be a little bit annoying to her dad. This season, she's all about trying to get a boyfriend, and she met somebody at the party they were going to. The reason that her and Sarah went to this party is a guy from her world, she thought was really cute, was the one hosting the party, but he turned out to be a major tool. But she met a guy, and they kind of hit it off a little bit, but she had to bail and didn't get his number. And that's all cute and stuff. But I'm going to be real with you. I really want Nat and Jordan to hook up because then Lois could be her mother-in-law, which would make her a mom again in this world because, her mother was actually Lois in her world. So I think that would be a really good way of like tying it in and making them all family. And that would make John Henry the father-in-law. So they'd all be connected like legally. And I know they do consider themselves to be family or pseudo family now, but this is what I'm just something I'm talking about. I think that would be a very good choice. What I think is going to happen is they're going to probably eventually push the whole Jordan and Sarah thing, and I do not like Sarah as a character. I just don't. The actress, I'm sure, is very sweet. This is anything I say obviously has no bearing on the actors because I can separate fantasy from reality, But I don't like how toxic Sarah's character is, and so she's a train wreck. And I know she's young, but she's very much more like Kyle than she is like Lana. And it's very frustrating to watch on TV. Actually, when I see scenes with them, it is the only time I don't enjoy watching Superman and Lois because it's pointless for this. The whole storyline is just stupid. So let me kind of dive into this now. As a mother, I cannot tell anybody how to raise their children. I don't like getting into politics. I don't like talking about corporal punishment versus abuse because, yeah, people do abuse their kids. They beat the hell out of their kids. They do all kinds of things. When you're POC, sometimes that's a very blurred line, I admit. My dad used to hit me with stuff that probably would be seen as child abuse, and I would never do that to my child. But let me explain something. When your child is grown enough to get in your face and tell you that the reason that, you basically how you are and that you're selfish is probably why, her dad cheated on you. I would like to know a normal person's response to that. Because Lana smacked the shit out of her. And then it became a big problem. Oh, I'm so sorry, honey. I can't believe I did that. I didn't want to be like my mom. I'm like, if I had talked to my mother, and my mother wasn't even POC, my mother was British and white, I would not be here today to do this live stream. I would be dead. But Sarah gets these allowances. Like she does bad things and she acts like she's entitled enough to get away with it. And when she doesn't get away with it, she throws a tantrum and she says whatever she wants to say. And you're just supposed to take it. And I just think it is very strange that's basically how the show has been since her basically introduction in season 1. Now, I know that she tried to commit suicide and she had depression, and I'm never going to knock that. I had generalized depression, so I have GAD, so general anxiety disorder. I understand how bad that is. I never put down mental health. But being somebody who has a mental health illness does not give you a pass at being a bitch. And things that Sarah has done, like how she's treated Jordan, how she got with Jordan and she went to a summer camp, made out with a girl, came back, was very cold to Jordan, and what actually went so far as to tell him about it, and then introduced the girl to him and got upset that he didn't come meet them or hang out with them. The stuff that this child does is not normal. It's just not normal. And like sitting there being in your feelings because you're grounded for going to a party that you lied to your mother about, saying you were hanging out with Nat watching movies at her house. And then getting in your feelings because Nat didn't get grounded, which, by the way, if I was the friend, I'm like, oh, now you're trying to get me in trouble? Like, my dad knew where I was, bitch. Getting in your feelings. And then Lana talking and saying, this is BS. And then saying what she said, I'd smack the shit out of her too. And I would have no conscience about it. And I'd take it a step further. You have a problem with me smacking you? You think I'm a bad mother? Kyle, I guess she's living with you. If she would like to see me, I'm still her mother and I love her very much, but we're not playing this game, little girl. When you grow up, come find me. That is how you treat that situation. How they write Lana, Kyle, and Sarah is a tragedy to me because it is not effing believable. There's no family unless your parents are completely pushovers and let you do whatever the hell you want, making you the most entitled person on the effing planet. No parent is going to sit there and let you treat them like that. So Sarah is, for me, the most worthless character in this whole damn show. I don't like her. I think that they need to either they rewrite her character, give her a brain and let her grow the hell up, or just have her get a scholarship and move away. There's no point in having her in the show. So that is literally how I feel. I do not like her character at all. And I'm tired of Lana pacifying her. I'm tired of Kyle being stupid. He is not a role model. So I don't even know why even, what I mean? He tries and does his little Mr. Rogers talks with his children or his daughter, because we never see Sophie. So I don't know where that child is. But she, it just doesn't go over very well. So I'm just like, whatever. I can't. All right. I think Lana is scared to probably parent Sarah because of the suicidal attempt. She wants to be her friend too. Yep. I go back to how Lana responded to Sarah cheating on Jordan. I believe that. 100%. I feel like the genetic logistics of Natalie and Jordan dating will be weird if they go to the hospital. They will be seen as genetic sibling. I don't think so. I don't think that the DNA is the same. I'm going to have to get back to you on that. I think, because I remember in the comics it wasn't. This isn't like Jean Grey and Madeline Pryor. She was a clone. There are going to be aspects that are a little different, genetically, based on your environment, based on your parents. Because if Lois's parents aren't even the same, she wouldn't have the same genomes. So, and the thing I love about genetics is, I'll give you a really big example. So my grandfather was 100% indigenous. My daughter, that came from my body, we got our DNA test done. She did not inherit any indigenous traits or genomes from me whatsoever. She got Bengali, which is my dad's great grandmother was 100% Bengali, or Bengali, I think is how you say it. But we're going to say Northern Indian, Southern Asian, basically. It came up in my DNA in a small percentage, and it came up in my daughter's DNA. My indigenous genes are much higher because that was my direct grandfather. So your body, when you're during conception, you pull genes basically randomly. You could have a whole freaking Nigerian, Chinese, Australian, whatever parent or grandparent, sorry, and never pull any genes from them. And they are directly related to you. So yeah, the genes and the genomes probably would not match up in that instance. Because on that earth, Lois is not her mother. And John Henry is not the father of Jordan. So it would not matter. So it wouldn't be weird to me. It just would not be weird to me. And I have to look at it on that level. I think there's some things we can make allowances for, because it's just weird, to be, you're from a whole other earth. And my mother was your mother, but you're not my biological sister. So we're not actually related at all. So I can do you. Basically. Just saying. But no, I don't know. I think this entire season is going very well. I'm just really hoping that we get to see. There's so many things I want to see. I want to see if we're actually alluding to Darkseid. But my problem is I don't know if Superman has ever met Darkseid in this universe. I don't know if the Justice League, because I know in the Flash, which I still have trouble talking about. Um, Now Barry was going to call the Justice League in the last episode. Oh, no, sorry, not the last episode. The episode before last, he's like, "I'm going to call the Justice League," but I'm like, "What Justice League? Is it the actual Justice League, or is it the Justice League you created with Sarah? With all of the Crisis on Infinite Poop people." So Black Lightning and everybody. Well, technically Black Lightning wasn't Justice League in the comics, but still, it's just I don't know. I don't know Superman and Lois's Justice League. Like, do we have Wonder Woman? They've alluded to Wonder Woman. They've alluded to Aquaman. They've alluded to Batman. They have all the people that you would see as major players in the Justice League. But we don't know if this version of Superman has already had established relationships with them, which well, we do know that he did talk to Bruce Wayne. He was friends with Bruce Wayne, which again makes zero sense, because then why weren't the other Justice League people introduced to the original Batman? And like, it's just all, it is all a clusterfuck. That is what the Arrowverse is. It is a clusterfuck. And it is so hard to wrap my mind around who knows who, where we are in what timeline, what comic trilogy, quadrilogy are we pulling from? Like right now, I always see everything right now as like a big cornucopia, or a big like compilement of pretty much the last 4 runs of comics from like New 52. Definitely, I've seen New 52 and stuff. Infinite Crisis, absolutely. But like, I still feel like they're doing things that were actually prior to Crisis on Infinite Poop. So I'm like, I really need somebody to like just get on the timeline train and write that shit down and keep it in control, because the Arrowverse and the DCEU have definitely had issues with timelines and expendable characters. So not sure what's going to happen with James Gunn. I'm still trying to put faith in the fact that I love Peacemaker and I like Guardians of the Galaxy, so maybe he's going to do a really good job with that. But yeah, Arrowverse hurts my head tremendously in terms of trying to keep track of where the hell we are in the comic lore, because I don't know. I just don't know. So that's why, going back to Bruno, I don't know which version we're dealing with. We know that he is the intergang like leader, but what does that really mean? Is he closer to, the cannibalistic New 52? Is he the new leader who's kind of like, he's not quite as crazy yet, but has like nefarious plans and it hasn't really gotten with Darkseid yet? Are we doing the secret society of supervillains? Where the hell are we in this process? I don't know. So that, in a nutshell, is why it's always very hard for me to talk about plots in Arrowverse, because I'll say, oh, well, maybe they're going to do this. Maybe they're going to do this. And it's like, but they're all over the place. They're just all over the place. So I don't know. Guys. It's weird. We're going to send all the writers to Krakoa. We're going to cross them over to Marvel and they can go live in Krakoa. But yeah, this is pretty much all of my hot takes and my opinions on season 3. I like where this is going. I am very worried about Lois, because Lois, again, she doesn't know her boundaries. She never has. She's been that character that was always like, she doesn't like to feel weak. And I get it. Married to somebody like Superman, you don't want to be the weak person. You don't want to be the helpless wife that Superman has to come and save all the time. You don't want to be seen as, oh, poor Lois, your husband's out there, bench pressing 2 buildings together and you can't even get off the couch, how you're going to write this story. And so all of that is really, really rough. And I did have one thing, though, that I wanted to say. And I'm not sure what the timeline is, but in The Flash, we know that West Allen, is getting nominated for a Pulitzer. And at the end of the last episode, Bruno's holding a paper where it says Lois Lane is up for a Pulitzer. So does that mean that Iris is going to beat Lois for a Pulitzer? Or is this an old Pulitzer article? I was trying to zoom in, but it's so hard to do on Xfinity because Xfinity sucks. So I was like, I can't figure out what the date was on that article about Lois and her Pulitzer, because we know Lois wins a bunch of them. And apparently Iris wins like 2 or 3. And this is like her first Pulitzer. So I don't know. But I'm very curious to see, if that's the case. Is she going to beat Lois out for a Pulitzer? It's interesting, huh? I mean, hey, it probably happens in comic lore all the time. I'm sure the Iris West Allen in the comics was like, "Damn it, Lois," or vice versa. But it's interesting to see if that is the case. So, hi Ray, how are you? I was wondering how they were gonna cut his hair in Grandpa's part. Uh, dog, he should know this. They need kryptonite scissors. I know, right? Now, I will say one thing I forgot to mention is that Jordan has a new suit now, and when he made up with Sam, Sam gave him his dad's old pilot goggles from the war. So I'm really curious to see how this outfit looks. I'm kind of excited, but I'm still on the camp that Jonathan is going to get his abilities back because, or back. Sorry, they're going to start because he is the official Superboy in the comics. There is no Jordan. So, I mean, it's just a shame that you're taking Jonathan Kent and sacrificing him for Jordan Kent, making them twins. And to me, and I don't know if anybody else has caught this, the relationship between the brothers, does it not remind you of Connor and Jonathan in the comics? Because I thought, or even closer to home, Damian and Jonathan. I actually almost like Batman's son and Clark's son hanging out playing video games. Kind of reminds me of the twins a lot. I don't know if that's what they were going for, but yeah, they act a lot like best friends, and I guess they're twins. It makes sense. But it's just, I don't know. I just felt like that's kind of how their relationship kind of comes off of me. Not just brothers, but like that whole dynamic between, I think Damien and him are probably a better example. Now, I will say, what is his name? Michael Bishop, who is the new Jonathan Kent. I like him. They got an Australian guy, and he to me, I think he's doing really well with the American accent. And from what we've seen, he hasn't done a lot, but he's not bad. And he definitely looks a lot more like Clark and Jordan than Jordan Esses did. Not saying that Jordan did not get do a really good job playing Jonathan, but I'm really interested to see where they take Jonathan's character with Michael Bishop because I don't know, kind of like him. I think he's doing a really good job. But I don't know. All in all, again, I still stand by what I said. This is one of the best Arrowverse shows I have seen on the Arrowverse. Honestly, for me, there's a lot that actually plays into that. But for me, John Henry and his suit, when he is Steel, probably it's like a highlight for me, guys. You just don't know. It's like when Superman is getting his ass handed to him. And then you see like smooth talking John Henry like, I'll be there in like 30 seconds, and then the suit just shows up with his damn hammer. And I'm like, this is what I'm talking about. This is what I'm talking about. This is why I watch this show. Because it is so like, it's like he's this really powerful character, but doesn't show off like Jordan does. I'm not saying Superman does because he really doesn't in this version. He's very down to earth in this version. But Jordan is kind of like, I've got powers, and like John Henry or Nat are like, meh, we're good. Like, we've got cool ass tech. We're okay. So yeah, I'm very curious to see what happens. Honestly, sometimes more with John Henry and Nat stories than I am with everybody else. Because John Henry, that damn suit, him jumping out of Bruno's building and Mannheim's building and just launching right in that suit, I'm like, that shit was sweet. I'm like, that is where the budget is going right there. I'm very excited, extremely excited for seeing that. Anyone excited about seeing Jordan's super suit? So far, Black Lightning has had the best suits. Yeah, I enjoy Black Lightning. Black Lightning's show wasn't the problem. It was Lynn and him that were the problem. Lynn and Jefferson fought so damn much that I was like, this is literally becoming like a Who's the Daddy episode on More Povich. I can't handle this. But yeah, everything else about Black Lightning for the most part was cool. Jennifer got on my nerves a little bit because she was whiny as fuck all the time. And again, I know teenagers. Maybe I'm just over my teenage years with my daughter because she's 26. But like, it's something about it now. It's like, stop. And not every teenager's like that. You've got some really sweet, down to earth, common sense, and very level headed, very prone to critical thinking teenagers out there. And then you got the ones like, Jennifer, the ones like Sarah, they're like annoying as fuck, But I will say, compared to Sarah, Jennifer's a saint because Sarah, I would just drive her out in the middle of nowhere and leave her there. I'm like, here's some water. Here's a few packs of Lunchables. Make your way in this world. I'm out. Like I couldn't handle her. My daughter, I love my daughter. My daughter has never talked to me the way Sarah has talked to both her parents. Because if she did, I would not have a child. That's just what it is. I would not have a child. Just saying. That is my angry grandma take. Because I'm sorry, when her mother slapped the hell out of her, I was like, okay, what's the problem? I'm like, she deserved it. I'm like, you don't say stuff like that to your mom. And the fact that when she told Kyle that she was hit and had him all riled up, she left out the part of what she said. And then when Kyle went to go confront Lana and said, you can't just be saying this because of, whatever, because of John Henry and all that. And she's like, that's not what happened. She basically told me that, I deserve to be cheated on because I was selfish. And that's why you did it. And then he was like, oh, so basically our child weaponized my cheating to hurt you. Cool. So, and then he goes back to confront Sarah and she's like, oh, well, then does that give her the reason to slap me? And he's like, no. I'm like, hell yeah. Smack the hell out of her. I'll smack your ass again. Like, a little girl. Little girl. If Sarah wants to know what it's like to be grounded, take her headphones away, take all her devices away. Do not let her hang out with anybody. She can't call anybody on the phone. That was my life. If I got grounded, I didn't have anything. This girl is in her room with an iPad, her freaking, streaming services, her headphones, all of her tech, laptop, everything, and she's talking about suffering? Like, oh, please. Please. I do not like that child at all. I don't. Mm-mm. And like when Sarah left out and she said to Lana, so I said, girl, even you're wrong, you're not telling Kyle everything. No, because she tries to make herself be in the best light. That's why, like, her whole flakiness with Jordan is why he's messed up in the head. And it's really bad because Jordan's already he has anxiety problems and all this stuff, and he's got low self-esteem. And then you got this girl that you love who 5 seconds ago loved you, and then another 5 seconds is making out with a girl at camp, and another one's like, oh, I just want to be friends. And I'm like, I really just want you to keep saying that. Do not get into a romantic relationship with this girl because she is not worth getting into a really, that girl needs therapy. Somebody needs to send her a link to BetterHelp, whatever that she needs to go deal with that and deal with herself, because that little girl is toxic AF. And I like Nat. Nat is sweet and level-headed and brilliant, and she doesn't hold grudges, and she doesn't talk shit like Sarah does. She's come a long way, because when she first got to Smallville I think it was the beginning of last season, she was very angry, which I get. You're seeing your mom every day, and it's not your mom. I get it. You're having to like adjust to this new world that's not yours. And she still didn't act as fucking stupid as Sarah does. So Sarah is one of those, it's all about me, woe is me, why, me characters. And I hate victims, the victim mentality. I hate it. Not saying you don't deserve to be supported when you are an actual victim, but a victim mentality is different from an actual victim. And Sarah has a victim mentality. When things do not go her way, she loses her shit. And that is why I dislike this character. If you cannot control that, go and get help. That's basically how I feel. So the only thing I do not enjoy about watching Superman and Lois is Sarah. I do not like her screen time. I don't like it at all. I want Nat to find a better friend. I really think that Candace and Nat would go better together. And speaking of Candace is now living at the Kent farm because when Clark did his whole Superman 2 movie reenactment with the dad, he bailed and skipped town. So now she's staying in the house with the Kents, which is going to be very interesting because everybody in their immediate circle knows that Superman is Clark and that Jordan has powers. They're going to have to hide that from her because she does not know this information. So there's that. I don't know how that's going to play out. I really don't, because eventually she's going to have to find out. She's also going to have to find out about the whole, Jonathan kissing his ex-girlfriend at the party thing, which he still has not told her about, which I get because he tried. And then the dad blocked the conversation, and now all the stuff that's happened. So yeah, is a thing. And yes, Ray, I said this too. Sarah is more her father than anything. Yep. The little sister is not anybody because the little sister is Trudy from Family Matters. I don't know where she is. She's always not there. So they mention her, but we don't see her hardly at all. So I don't know if this is because of strict COVID requirements still on set and we can't see younger kids. I don't know, but we don't see Sarah. We don't see Sophie at all. Plus, Sophie, think about it. Sophie was described as biting people, lashing out at people. She has sociopath tendencies. She's like the little girl in the Megan movie, when she's angry. So Sophie also needs better help. Both of their children are screwed up, and these parents are doing nothing to do it. And they're doing absolutely nothing to help this along. So basically, fix their children. So, but then again, Kyle is no role model. So, and Lana is now mayor and she doesn't have time. Plus, if she's going to hook up with John Henry to make even more dysfunctional children, then she can't be spending time fixing the ones she's got. Come on now. Shippendale. I know you asked me earlier where I've been and why I haven't been doing as many streams. I did a video about what's been going on. Day before yesterday, I believe. So if you want to go watch that, I break down exactly what's been happening and why I've been away for so long. I am trying to fix that and remedy that. The situation I'm dealing with is not over yet. Hopefully, the next couple of months it will be done. Knock on wood, I'm hoping. And then life for me can start going back to some semblance of normalcy. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, it's just been a lot of crap. I have not watched the Owl House, guys. If you're Owl House fans, the reason I have not watched it is because I know once I watch it, it's over, and I'm holding out. I'm selfishly holding out. I I know I'm gonna watch it today, and when I do, I'll probably film a quick response video, and maybe I'll cry. I don't know, because I love that show, and I'm so upset that it's canceled and only had 4 episodes. I did watch Ruby though. If you have not watched Ruby, it is on Crunchyroll, the Crunchyroll app, and I'm gonna warn you. I think they do have a warning at the beginning. I was half asleep when I started it. It is very dark, and it deals with some subject matter that is very dark and very real. And a character does something in that episode that is very dark and very real. So I'm just gonna put it to you that way. This is the darkest episode of Ruby I have ever seen, period. So just a little warning there. And yes, Disney did do the Owl House dirty, absolutely. And like I said, I got it. I DVR'd it, the episode. I just have not started it yet because I already know I'm gonna be upset. I'll probably like how Dana set the outcome and everybody's outcome at the end, unless somebody dies or Luce and Amity are split up. I'll be very upset. But outside of that, it's hard because I know once I watch it, it is done. And it's sad. And yeah, I could get them all on Blu-ray or stream them, but it's just like there are no more stories unless they continue it in comic books or another form, which I'm hoping they do. I hope we get books and comic books that continue this story, because I do not like the fact that we're having to cram all of this amazing content. They've been doing a good job, but into 4 effing episodes. It's very, very annoying. So just saying. Okay. I think I've done my Superman and Lois due diligence, guys. I'm all talked out of Superman and Lois right now, which is kind of sad because it's a really good show. But yeah, that is literally all I've got. I did offer to review the Flash. I can't even do it without laughing. Like I can't. I have seen every episode of the Flash this season so far. And mm-mm. Mm-mm. I'm sad that actors will not have a job anymore. I'm sad about that this is their last season and they won't have a job. But now I don't know if Candace Patton is sad. She seems to want it to be done really quickly, which I don't blame her. But the writing has gotten even worse. So I'm not happy at all with this season. And I'm still trying to give it a chance because we have what? I think we just had episode. I don't even know anymore. What was the last episode we just had? I think we have 13 episodes this season, right? Isn't it 13? Yeah, because episode 9 is the 26th and 8th. Yeah, we just saw Partners in Time. That was when they did the mole inspection and that crap. So yeah, it's coming back on the 26th. So it looks like we're not going to have a new episode this week. But episode 9 is called "It's My Party and I'll Die If I Want to." And yeah, like, and I've just not been happy at all with the Flash this season, and really a lot of seasons. So there's that. Maybe I think what'll turn it around for me is if Iris ends up having twins and it's Dawn and Dawn and not Nora. I think that would be great. But I just Joe from Joe's Geek Show found an article where it said the writers were tired of writing stories about Barry Allen and they wanted to focus on some of the side characters. And I'm like, but the show is called The Flash. And my opinion is if you're hired to write about a superhero and you're tired of writing about said superhero, then maybe you need another job and you need to find all new writers. That is literally how I feel about that. So, and I'm not happy with the fact that they don't know what to do with Danielle Panabaker. No, they don't. She's not Caitlin. She's not Frost. Now they took an actual existing DC character and made her this character, which irritated the hell out of me because they needed to put her in the story and her story is stupid. And I'm just tired of dealing with all of that. So I don't care anymore. I just don't care. I'm not committed. I don't care about the whole Chester and Allegra. Will they, won't they, don't they, are they? I don't care. None of this is pertinent information for a show that should be focusing on the Flash in his final season, battling maybe the last most badass villain he's ever faced that we will never effing get because they have shitty writing. So that is how I feel about that. That is how I feel about that. So if you want me to talk about the Flash, this is the tone that it will be in because I am not happy with it. So that is truths, whatever. I did say this before. If you guys watch the show From, which is a series about people trapped in a town when it gets dark, there are like these humanoid type creatures that eat them unless they put these totems on the wall, and there's like a lot of drama. They're all trying to figure out why the hell they can't leave because they just whenever they leave, they just end up right back in the town. And it's a very good series. And season 2 starts on April 23rd. There is a trailer for season 1 and season 2 now on YouTube if you want to watch it. Very, very, very good. Just putting out there. I saw the Blue Beetle trailer. I effing love the Blue Beetle trailer. It is, I mean, honestly, it is very effing cool. If you have not seen it, go watch it. It is very cool. Guardians is okay. Maybe I'm just burned out. I don't know. It just reminds me of every other Guardian situation I've seen them in. Not to say this is not going to be a good one, but it is. It probably is. It's the last one. It's volume 3, so they're probably going to release all the stops, but and James Gunn's going to throw out all the bells and whistles. But right now, I'm just kind of underwhelmed a little bit. But it may be fine. I don't know. I have not seen Shazam. Because I can't go to theaters. I haven't seen the new Ant-Man movie because I can't go to theaters. So, and unfortunately, the drive-in situation here in Memphis has gotten kind of volatile because they had a shooting, and so I'm not going there anymore. So I have to wait for them to stream now, which sucks. But it is what it is. Wakanda Forever was fucking amazing. I loved how they fixed the T'Challa problem, so I have no problem with that. I'm trying to think of all the comic book stuff that I need to talk about because we just need to talk about stuff. I am looking forward to Ironheart. I'm looking forward to like a lot of stuff. Right now, I'm not even in the comic book world. I'm looking at Picard right now, the last season of Picard, because your girl loves TNG, and they have mostly everybody back from the original TNG show making appearances and playing roles in this final season of Picard. So even if you didn't watch season 1 or season 2 of Picard, watch season 3. It is very good. And I'm also watching The Mandalorian. And I've been walking around my house with my spouse, and we've been literally losing our shit. Like, we'll walk around, and I'll say, I'm going to go put something in the refrigerator. This is the way. and my spouse will say, I think I'm going to work a little bit later today. I have spoken. Like, they had Lizzo in the last episode, and I loved her fucking character. And I was just like, oh, why can't I live in her city? But I love The Mandalorian. I love, Picard. So I've been really into that. I think I mentioned in my last stream, I'm very into Quantum Leap. I just watched all of the new Quantum Leap series, and it's very good. I think it's on I always get them confused. Yeah, I think it's on Peacock because Paramount Plus has all the Star Trek stuff. So, yeah, Peacock has all of the episodes. It is really well done. I mean, extremely well done. And they have a trans character. And I love Ian, and Ian is very cool. So yeah, basically, if you want stuff to watch, I recommend I recommend, Quantum Leap. I recommend, of course, The Mandalorian, the new season, and I also love Picard. So those are the four that I'm consistently watching. Sometimes I watch a show called Fantasy Island. It is a remake of the original version, not the movie, the TV show, and it is crazy, and I love it. And there's also, what is the other show that I was looking at? There's another show. I don't know. I traditionally watch Station 19 because Station 19 is crazy, but those are what I normally watch. Um, and then, of course, anime, if you want to know about good anime, good anime. I am obsessed with Gundam Witch of Mercury. I have been since it first released in Japan. And the second season starts tomorrow on Crunchyroll. So they're bringing it back. So this is the best time to get in on the action of Gundam Wing Mercury. If you do not have Crunchyroll, they've been releasing them on YouTube. There actually is a link, and I'll see if I can find it. If not, just go to and search for Gundam Witch of Mercury Marathon, and somebody is marathoning the entire first 12 episodes. Like, I think it's like 4.5 hours or whatever, but it's on YouTube. So if you want to watch it, it is there. It is very cool. It looks to be the first time we have, not only in animated form, a female protagonist in the Gundam series, plus potentially LGBTQ plus, because they're doing a Revolutionary Girl Utena style in it, where they have Gundam duels and things like that, or mecha duels and things like that. And there's a lot of politics, and it is a very good show. Plus the music in it is fucking amazing. So there is that. All right. That's it, guys. I'm tired. This booth is really hot. I don't have to do any voiceovers today, which is, knock on wood, a beautiful thing. So I'm going to go relax, meet a friend. I'm going to play 5 Days to Die because I like shooting zombies. And go about my day and eventually force myself to watch the Owl House today later on. But yeah, if you guys have any suggestions on what you want me to review, watch, or whatever, please leave me a comment below. And I promise you, I'm going to be reviewing Ruby, and I'm going to be reviewing the Owl House. It's just not going to be the day because I don't know if I'm going to be able to force myself. I probably will, but I'll probably be too late to do a stream for the Owl House when I watch it. And Ruby is really effing dark. So I'm going to have to I'm going to wrap my mind around this a little bit more. So, but yeah, guys, thank you for hanging out. Make sure if you have anything I didn't talk about in Superman and Lois, or anything you want to talk about comic book related, let me know. And also let me know if I should watch Gotham Knights. I've recorded 4 episodes. I haven't watched it. Normally I do. I just have not been able to bring myself to push play. I don't know why. So let me know if you think Gotham Knights is any good. All right, guys, I love you. Until next time, guys, have a good weekend, a rest of your weekend, a good rest of your week, and I will see you later. Bye-bye.